nice job in this film. I mean, I don't really have questions as good as the film.
Yeah.
You know, it's profoundly amazing. My father was in World War II, was in the Navy fleet, so he fought at Guadalcanal, and was on 3 ships, 2 of them were sunk, so he was a survivor both times. And I've gone through his diary with him, and I'm pretty well versed on the war and things. And at the same time, my first thing after the film, I just wanted to call him and say, you know, thank you. You know, and because in a way it really honors him.
Sure.
You have that in the back of your mind when you're playing soldiers, knowing that a lot of them are still, you know, a lot of them have died, but a lot of them are still walking around.
Oh yeah,
It was very necessary in our preparation. Something Stephen was adamant about, making
Stephen
sure
Adam,
that
Captain Dye, our military advisor, made it real clear that was what we were doing. Don't just give a good performance, but
make sure we don't look like movie stars or actors coming out of our trailers and looking rested and whatnot.
Yeah, it's meant to be a respectful representation. So I mean, yeah, I hope that's what it is. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the film?
Yeah.
All the way through?
Yeah.
I'm curious through your eyes. I think I understand from my father, and I understand a lot from the film and a few other films on a high level of what combat is like in my own little small world.
Right.
But as an actor, what is it like?
Well, it ends up, again, it's like you can read as much as you want, you can research as much as you want about the subject, but not until you have, sort of 40 pounds of pack on your back and you're holding a rifle and you're trying to sort of make your way through this, this bloodied beach, that you have a real visceral sense of what it might have been like, which was horrifying, chaotic, confusing, and really just rattling. And there very little acting is involved when it comes down to that sort of thing.
Just shooting a blank, just one blank with your rifle is really disconcerting. I mean, just the shock of that, hearing that for the first time, when you add others and realize that it's also coming at you and there's things blowing up.
When we would do a night maneuver in boot camp, and it was the first time you'd really see like the muzzle flash, and the muzzles, it was some maneuver where we were meant to be ambushed and practice kind of a maneuver where you fall back, and and there were like 6 or 7 muzzle flashes all at once, and it was I mean, that's one of the most disturbing images I've ever seen. There are blanks in there, but it doesn't matter. I mean, and now you get the sense, of what this must have been like, and what it was like was a nightmare. I mean, nothing short of a horrible, horrible nightmare.
Yeah, it's to realize that what you're experiencing, as terrifying as it was, just actually being in the combat in the film, it's frightening. But to realize that it doesn't begin to approach what they were actually feeling. That
Sure.
It's.
You play a character with an enormous sense of guilt. In a sense, there's a point where he's frozen.
Yes.
And I would imagine, maybe I'm reading into it, but that there's a lot of guilt that goes along with that, maybe later.
Sure. But I appreciated that, in that Stephen, with all the characters, he didn't want to portray anyone as anything less than human. And the truth of war is when you can get the strongest man who's performed really well in training, get him in the middle of combat and he's paralyzed. That's the truth. So my character further wasn't supposed to be in combat at all, and so to be thrown in the middle of it, that's not entirely surprising that something like that might manifest.
I would imagine it happened a lot.
Yeah.
That happened a lot. Last question, and I hate to ask movie star questions, but I'm curious on the relationship with Tom Hanks in the film, and whether it became a little bit like the film and a little bit like the character, or whether I'm reading into that.
No, I mean, it absolutely did. I mean, he, in many ways, held us together, beyond anything that I think any other actor might have been able to do under these circumstances. There were other times where I think there was probably some contention, too, and I think that's also something which is, is indicated in the film or represented in the film. You always have those sorts of dynamics that exist with a kind of a leader figure, an iconoclastic figure. But I also really feel like had it not been him, it could have really been a nightmare to shoot. It really could have been. And ultimately, it was just fun. When we stopped shooting in between takes, I mean, we made a point of really trying to have a good time. We didn't need to bury ourselves in these characters the same way you might in other movies, because as soon as we started rolling, it's you know, you were very much there again. So
Yeah, there in the moment.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
yeah, thanks very much.
Great work.
Yeah.